As mentioned in the last slide, we talked about James Monroe's presidency, particularly presiding over this era of what we call the era of good feelings. Basically, it's not a period where people are feeling good in the physical sense, but people are thinking more nationalistic. They're identifying themselves more as Americans than they are as Virginians or members of their states. It's a very short period of time, unfortunately. As we'll see, some twin events are going to happen. It's going to kill the mood, but nonetheless, it's a period of national patriotism. Were flush from an alleged victory against the English when it came to War of 1812, and we even have a small economic boom, and we have less political tensions, mainly because of the fact that the Federalist Party is effectively an irrelevant party now, and you have one party rule. But the Democratic Republicans are going to learn that during the war they needed to adopt a lot of Federalist doctrines, which they would previously have described as heresy before this. The best example, of course, is going to be the Second Bank of the United States. They're really, you can sense that they're swallowing their own tongues when they admit that Alexander Hamilton was correct when it came to the operation of the first national bank, the first bank of the United States. It had to be a very uncomfortable thing to say. It is, what, Hamilton was right. It worked exactly the way it was supposed to. And so much of it is going to be modeled on the first Bank of the United States, meaning that it was a joint private and public venture when it came to who owned the bank. But nonetheless, it would operate exactly the same way. The government would pull their money into this bank. It would be able to get banknotes for a single currency out of the bank, but nonetheless, it's only a fifth owned by the federal government, meaning that 4/5 of this bank is actually owned by private enterprise. But nonetheless, we're also going to see other developments happen. For example, after the war, the British are going to flood the market with their cheaper goods, and so in retaliation, Congress is going to pass the Tariff of 1816, which basically imposed a 20 to 25% tariff on foreign goods. And then, of course, we also are going to have a time period of what we call internal improvements. Usually with modern-day presidents, Barack Obama and Donald Trump are not exceptions. They talk about rebuilding infrastructure. You hear roads crumbling and bridges falling into dust. Well, this is not anything new. There's going to be a push for the United States government to go and improve American roads. The thing is that the presidents, mainly James Madison and James Monroe, both agree with the spirit of the bill, but they find it unconstitutional because they say that the federal government has no role in financing local projects especially if they don't cross state lines. Imagine, for example, if a local road is being worked upon using federal funds. Well, according to Monroe and Madison, this would have been unconstitutional since it didn't cross state lines. This is a state issue. And a note about vetoes. Until Andrew Jackson, presidential vetoes were based mainly on the constitutionality of the bill, regardless of whether or not they agreed with it. Jackson, however, is going to be the first president that vetoes a bill because he finds it to be bad policy. But nonetheless, Monroe's going to agree with Madison when this internal improvements comes up, and he's going. He likes the idea, but he does not like the idea of the federal government getting involved. So he's going to veto it. But nonetheless, the states are going to be the ones that are going to establish a lot of the internal improvements, these infrastructure repairs to the United States. For example, New York is going to create an Erie Canal as a result. We're going to see canals in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And before it's all over, before 1834, $41 million will be spent on the internal improvements when it comes to establishing a republic that is better linked through financing and not finance, but a market, a truly national market is starting to emerge.